Hey friends, my name's Timothy, though some people do call me Tim, and I'm a professional dungeon master running over 300 games of D&D every year. For the past 3 years, I've been doing so using this video sponsor, startplaying.games. SPG makes it easy to find or attract the online TTRPG group of your dreams because they're the largest online platform that matches DMs and players across pretty much any system that you can imagine. Describing themselves as part group finder and part game finder, it doesn't matter whether you're a Pathfinder fan, a Dungeons and Dragons fan, or run down the rabbit hole into some super nitty-gritty specific system. There are games running all across the world in every time zone, and there's definitely a game there ready for you. And if by the small chance your particular system doesn't yet have a following, then you can be the impetus to build out that group and start games going. And with over 20,000 happy players running through the system, there's bound to be somebody else who's also hoping to play that little indie game that you're ready to run. In addition to just the ability to find systems and games, one of the things that makes SPG awesome from a player standpoint is the variety of options that are available to you. Now, I personally am a little bit of a purist, and I pretty much only play D&D these days, though I like to dip my nose into a couple of other systems to get ideas and things like that. But if you happen to be hankering for a little Call of Cthulhu on the weekends in order to get your Strange on, then SPG's got you covered. Before we start talking about finding or creating the game of your dreams and finding the DM that works best for you, I want to tell you a couple of the things that I think makes SPG such an awesome service. The reason why I've used it for 3 years now and continue to use it every single day, even though I don't actually need their service any longer to attract my player base and set up my groups. As a player, SPG gives a lot of opportunities in terms of the variety of games that are available. No matter what kind of system you're interested in, there's a game out there for you with a GM ready and willing to run it. It gives you options to choose from different DMs and different schedules that are out there, so that no matter what kind of life you lead and what your work schedule looks like, you can find somebody who is also available in that specific time slot. Whether it's a DM in Australia or Turkey or here in the United States, it doesn't really matter. As long as you guys are all awake at the same time, game time can be good times. Meanwhile, as a professional DM, some of the benefits of running games through a platform like this seems to me to be the dedication of the players who are coming to your table repeatedly, paying for the service to be there and excited for the stories that you're going to create. Because you're in charge of the prices that you set and the games that you run, you have a lot of flexibility to decide just how deep into the rabbit hole of hobby or more business that you want to be running. Whether you're just trying to pay for your D&D books or just desperately trying to get a group together, the service has everything that you're looking for. And on top of that, the support system that places for your business and for your game is pretty awesome. You can either contact them through their Discord server, where they've got loads of mods helping you to find the answers to common or less common questions that are out there. They handle the payment side of things, and so you don't have to ever worry about dealing with money directly with your players. And they're constantly in development, putting out new features all the time in order to try and improve the service, both from a DM and a player standpoint. But let's dive into the nitty-gritty and take a look at how you would go about finding a game. Any game. So here we are on the Start Playing Games website, and you pretty much have two options in your upper right off the bat, to either find games or find GMs. Let's take a look at finding a game. One of the most powerful ways to work the find game system is to check based on the schedule that you're looking for. You can select whether you're just looking for a one-off game of some specific system, or whether or not you're looking for a campaign that runs weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Select the day that you're looking to play and the style of campaign, and take a look at the earliest and latest start times that are going to work for your specific schedule. Let's say that we're working at 6 p.m. at the earliest and maybe 8 p.m. start time for the latest. applying those schedule, and we can see that there's plenty of games even on a Wednesday night. That said, we're going to want to narrow this down further. Me personally, I'm looking for a game of Dungeons and Dragons, but right here we can see we've got opportunity for classic AD&D, Pokemon, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, Lancer, Pathfinder 2e, and Fabula Ultima, all in the first set of options. Selecting Game System allows us to search for the game that we might want to play. Let's look for something a little less mainstream, like maybe Vaesen, which was recently suggested that I should check out. Wednesday nights, there's only one specific game available from that, from GM Shattergat, and so let's go take a peek. Available and ready to go, beginner friendly, this 3-hour duration game is just getting started and still needs 3 players in order to begin. This is a great feature of Start Playing Games, where you can find games that are just getting started and are looking for players, or for games that are just looking to fill a few seats if you're ready to go and you want to get started right away. Let's move back to something a little more mainstream and take a look at our options for 5th edition on a Wednesday night. In addition to setting by game system, we can set for games that are either ongoing or new. An ongoing game might be in the middle of a huge long story arc, just looking for a few new players to finish it out, while a new game is one that clearly is just getting out onto the right foot. And so if you're looking to drive in at low level and work your way up into your story, then that's the option for you. And just like that, we've narrowed things down to find the game that's going to suit us best. Once we've decided on a game and we dive into the details page, we can take a look and see all of the information that we've been provided. We can see the upcoming schedule and anything that's missing, and of course we can head down into the reviews of the DM in question. When it comes to looking for a GM specifically, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. First and foremost, there are a ton of different GMs on Start Playing Games, and so your options are kind of wild and kind of large. You can search through the GMs by their preferred game systems, as well as by their preferred game platforms, in order to try and narrow things down if you want to find a specific GM and reach out to them for a specific game. It's not what I would call the recommended method of finding an appropriate game master for your particular group, even if you have a group of established players that all want to get together and play together. And the reason that I say that is because the system as it's set up there doesn't necessarily show you whether or not a GM has availability, just whether or not they, exist on the platform at all. The best way to find a GM for your specific group is to instead look in the game finder and look for a newly starting game that has room enough at the table for your entire group. And if you find a game that has 0 people at the table, but maybe doesn't have enough room for your group or the like, you can, or isn't running the game that you like, then feel free to then go in further and select that GM's profile. Then you can go in, find the DM that you're looking for, and send them a message. But there is a great deal of value in checking out your different DMs and the DM profiles. When you're checking out the Game Master's reviews, Start Playing Games uses a different review system than any I've seen anywhere else. First and foremost, the system limits each player to 1 review per Dungeon Master, meaning that a DM that has hundreds upon hundreds of reviews is not necessarily the DM who is better at the table. This can make it a little bit challenging in order to be able to work out which DM you're looking for unless you dive in a little bit deeper. But checking out a Game Master's reviews more directly, you can see that they list a section here for how many sessions have been played with the DM. Brady, for instance, has left a review for me here and has played in 85 sessions with me. If we take a look through my list, you can see that I've got players that have been with me for a short period of 18 sessions or so, others for 100 sessions, 85 sessions, 100, 118, 156, 397. Thanks, O'Neill. In addition to being able to check out those reviews and see what a DM says about themselves, you can also, thanks to the review system, see the top-rated 3 abilities that a Dungeon Master has been said to have in their reviews. Apparently, for whatever reason, my players say that I've got some creativity and I'm good at voices and storytelling, no matter how bad I think my voice acting is. You can also see how long they've been active on Start Playing Games, what their average response time is to messages, and whether or not you're likely to get a response at all. All of this gives you the kind of information that you're going to need in order to be confident about the DM that you're picking so that you don't go in blind to any particular game. Meanwhile, if you're a DM or GM who's signed up for Start Playing Games and you're looking to create a game for yourself, the system couldn't be simpler. Simply make sure that you're signed into your account, click the little book to go to your GM's dashboard. In the listings page, you can create a template that's going to be submitted to Start Playing Games for them to review each and every game to ensure the quality and the service that is being provided. This helps keep the platform safe for all of our players and ward out any kind of malicious behavior that might take place. And their team is on the ball and review times are low. So don't necessarily try and do it right before you try to run a game, but realize that once you've got these templates created, you'll be able to schedule those at any kind of time slot that you're interested in doing so on a moment's notice. When creating a template for a game, you're going to be asked to provide a significant amount of information so that players on the system can find the right game for themselves and so that you can attract the right players. There's a ton of advice throughout the creation process so that it makes it very, very simple to just click and drop in your answers. Simply select what the title of your game is going to be, whether or not it's going to be a one-shot or a campaign, the game system that you intend to use, realizing that you're not supposed to be listing multiple unless they're going to be used simultaneously or unless you're creating a campaign opportunity for players to come to you as the DM and choose what system as a group they want to be able to participate in. Entering in a game description is your opportunity to tell everybody all of the basic lore that you're going to want them to know about what kind of game they're getting in, what kind of setting, theme, and how you like to play. The advice there of thinking of it as the back cover blurb of a book is a great way to think of this section of up to 3,000 characters. You can choose up to 4 tags to describe the themes and settings of your game, and as you can tell, there's quite the listing. Every game comes with a nice, sweet big piece of art at the top, and you have the opportunity here to enter in anything that you have the licensed rights to show. If you don't have a bunch of art of your own that you can legally put up there, then they've got you covered with a Google Drive full of pictures, and personally I like to go into a program like Canva, move a few things around, and upload it. You can even save a short moving picture in Canva that you can upload as a GIF, and it shows up pretty cool on the website. Set your session duration for how long your games are likely to run, and select the age range that you feel is appropriate. Start Playing Games can be used by people 13 or older, but must be signed up with a parent's account if they're under 18. Your options for selecting the player age range include making games specifically for those 13 through 17, games for those 18 and older only, or games that could have a mix of both. You can go ahead and set your pricing for anything that you feel is reasonable, though there are a couple of limitations. If your game is not going to be listed as a free game, then it must cost at least $5. Outside of that, you can set any range you like, and I've seen a $100 game floating around here or there, though I've never had the gumption to actually go and check out what made it quite that valuable. Average pricing runs around $15 to $20, and I definitely understand just how real the imposter syndrome gets when trying to fill this out to see who you're going to get for your first table. What I did in order to set my first table's price was went and played in somebody else's game and sort of judged myself up against them as the metric and decided that if I could do as well as he did, then I could charge as well as he did. But you decide for you the best way to set your price. One of the big focuses of Start Playing Games is the safety of everybody at the table. And as such, when you're creating your listing, you need to go through and select which safety tools you're going to provide for your players. And additionally, which content warnings they should be on the lookout for, so that if somebody has a specific trigger that they need to avoid, they can determine that from your game's listing instead of getting all the way into your game, playing with you for sessions, and then running into that trouble. Finally, the details section gives you an opportunity to sort of openly share a little bit about either your safety tools or the style of game that you're going to be running in terms of what can be expected. Any kind of gameplay details can go right here. However, when it comes to expectations, you'll also be given the opportunity to detail out the degree to which combat will be relevant, puzzles, roleplay, and how much experience is required by players in order to fit in at your table. If you're not interested in hosting for newbies, then you can say so, but I would recommend for finding players to keep it open to everybody. Finally, you have another large section of text available to you if you need it in order to describe what you bring to the game and what players should expect at the table. Are you going to be using the rule of cool or strictly rules as written? Are you going to provide anything for the players themselves? And what kind of virtual tabletop requirements or requirements of equipment is going to be needed? For my tables, I tell everybody that they're basically going to need to have a microphone and a website browser and a free account at least on D&D Beyond. I provide access to every book on D&D Beyond for choices of character creation, though now that they're getting into the third-party stuff, I have to really watch that. And I use Foundry Virtual Tabletop through a hosting service, so all they need is to log into a specific website. This is the place where you can set the expectation as to what your players should look for in you and what you are looking for in them. And then finally, the preparation section tells your players what kind of services and the like they're going to need in no uncertain terms, telling them that they're going to need access for, in my case, Discord, Foundry Virtual Tabletop, and D&D Beyond. Makes it clear the services that we're going to be using every single time. We can tell people in this section how they should go about character creation, which allows you to upfront show any kind of house rules that you have as to what is and is not allowable at the table. And then you can tell them how they should prepare, so any final instructions that haven't already been covered anywhere else, you can drop them down here. That way, if you don't want them creating characters before session 0, then you should be letting them know that their preparation should not include creating characters. Once you've completed the template, you hit submit for review, send it on to Start Playing Games, and they're going to go ahead, review that real quick, and get you back an approval or let you know what it is that you need to adjust in order to meet the community standards. At that point, your adventures will start to show up in a listings page, much like this one. And it's a simple matter of clicking Add Adventure, setting the number of players that you desire at the table, the day and time and frequency of that game, and any last-minute links that will only be shown to players that have booked your games. For me, that's a Discord link so that I can get my players into Discord and give them all the other links that are a little bit different for every game and sometimes a little bit changeable. You also have the opportunity to set a cutoff time, telling players how long you need as the GM in order to onboard them for a specific game session. If they join after that cutoff time, then they should know that there is a chance that you won't be able to get them ready in time for the session to play. If you're just putting together a game specifically for a specific group of people, you may not want it to be publicly listed, but otherwise, clicking on this makes it so that your game is going to be available to everybody. And Instantly Bookable decides whether or not they can just click to join you and do so without your approval. And if you turn that off, then they're going to be able to apply to your game and you're going to have to physically approve them in the system. Special events are run all the time where money is raised for different charities and the like, and if you're creating a listing specifically for that event, then you would click here and select the event in question. When you've created a new listing like this, you end up with one that is in the pending status. Pending means that it doesn't have enough players yet to begin, and you haven't yet scheduled your first adventure. It still shows the frequency and schedule that you've got ready for your players. For this campaign, for instance, I set a total of 3 to 5 number of players. Until I get 3 players, this game is going to be in pending mode. Once it gets to 3 players, it will still be in pending until I go in and set it to an active mode by scheduling the first session. This essentially means that this is a game in recruiting mode right now, available on the search engine for people to find it and join up, but not yet scheduled to run, so that the players know when the game is actually going to start when we schedule that first session with them involved. If, for instance, however, you got 2 players and you decided, heck, you are ready to start with just those 2, you can come in and change the minimum number of players in your group in order to be able to switch it over into active status. Once you have a game ready to go and there's enough people, you can start adding sessions, at which point you simply choose the date and time of the session and hit add, and you can do so in batches, multiple at a time. If you ever have to cancel or adjust a session, you can do so in the session details page also. And your players will have the option to be able to skip a game as long as they give you at least 24 hours notice on the Start Playing Games system, and there might might be occasions when you want to offer a discount or an adjustment to somebody's prices, which you can do in the players page by clicking on the three dots next to their name and changing their booking price. It's also where, in the event of something awful happening, you can remove a player. At the end of all that, you might be asking, how can you go about finding players? And that's the real beauty of Start Playing Games. You don't really have to. Create a good listing, find available times for yourself, and get out there wide so that people have the opportunity to find you at the table. And basically, if you build it, they will come. Whatever your favorite system, or whatever you're looking for in tabletop role-playing games, I hope that you'll get out there and start playing games. Thanks for watching, and happy adventuring.